Welcome to Business Notes. I'm your host, Diane Bogino, President of Performance Strategies and Diane Bogino Development. Our guest today is Sharifah Hardie. Sharifah Hardie is a business consultant, talk show host, author, and influencer. She is host of 3 programs: Ask Sharifah Videocast and Podcast, Roundtable Talk Show with Sharifah Hardie, and Face to Face Talk Show. Sharifah is also the author of Signs You Might Be an Entrepreneur and the ebook, Everything You Need to Know About Social Media Marketing. Sharifah was a Long Beach City, California council candidate in the March 2020 primary election and is a diversity, equity, and inclusion expert with over 25 years of business experience. Sharifah Hardie, thank you for being on the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here with you.
I'm excited to have you. And I want to delve right into your past, where you said one time that you were laid off 8 times. So tell me about that.
I mean, Diane, I can sum it up in one word. It was hard. That was it. It was just hard. But, you know, it was one of those things where if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be where I am today, because it shaped who I was meant to be, which is a true entrepreneur, someone who has their business, someone who helps other people, as opposed to just focusing on myself and going to a job, which is what I always wanted to do. I tell people it was like an argument with God, where God told me, Sharifah, I want you to help people. And I said, no, I'm going to go and get a job. And then 6 months to the day, several times I would get hired. 6 months later, I would get laid off. And finally, after a while, God just said, you know what? I don't know. I don't see what part of I am God do you not understand? And finally, I had to say, I hear and I obey, because I built my first website in 1994. And I did that because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. But when I built my first website, people said, oh my gosh, Sharifah has a website, build us a website. And then I started marketing my website, got to the top of Google page 1, position 1 ranking in the search engines. And people said, Sharifah, market my website. And so I came to help people and to serve people and help them to make millions of dollars, which I've been able to do over the last 25, 26 years.
Good grief. Wow. You took another adversity, if you will. You were running for a council seat. And I assume we're not elected, correct?
Correct.
But then you took that and you turned that around because you wanted a voice. And tell me about that. What did that spark for you?
It was a beautiful experience. I ran for Long Beach City Council in the March 3rd primary election. And like you said, unfortunately, I wasn't elected. But what I realized is I loved having a voice. I loved having the ability to help people, to serve people, to talk about some of the conditions in the community. And I realized just because I didn't win, or I'm not the candidate or the council person, it doesn't mean that I still don't have an obligation to the community, that if I see things that are wrong, to find solutions to make the community a better place. And that's what my focus is on. And so I said they wouldn't give me city council, so I took the Roundtable. And the Roundtable talk show is my baby. It's one of the shows out of my 3 shows that I enjoy them all. So let me not say that, but it's a different focus. It's on that entrepreneur who wants to share information with other entrepreneurs and business owners, with our viewers who watch the show. And so I knew I had to have a platform to have a voice, because I realized it's not just up to one person. It's not just up to the president or the mayor or the government or the city council person to make our community a better place. It's up to each and every one of us. And just like I said, when I ran for city council, I wanted to be the change that I saw in the world. I wanted to be it, not just say, oh, well, Diane, you know what? It's your fault. It's your responsibility. You go make this world a better place. And when this world gets to be a better place, then, hey, I'll be there. You know, what is my role? And so that's what I did with the Roundtable Talk Show.
Great. I love that. So this election thing actually sparked your
Yes.
3 shows. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, wow. So you just mentioned the one about the entrepreneurs. So you have, how many entrepreneurs do you have on there at one time typically?
5.
5. And they all talk about business and how they got to where they are?
to a certain extent, Diane. But what's the beauty of the show is that I never know where the conversation is going to go. It just kind of develops organically. And what I find is that we always go away from business into life. We start talking about our stories. And I have every 100% ratio, 100% of the time with the most successful people. It doesn't matter. There's always a story behind the business. There's always a challenge, a struggle, an obstacle, an inspiration, something that happened to inspire them to be the person that they are today. And so when 5 people, 6, including myself, sit down and try to find solutions for what's going on in the world, you'd be amazed at some of the solutions that are offered, how we can help each other. People follow each other on social media. I had a friend of mine who owns a bookstore, purchased quite a few books from one of the guests for her bookstore. And all he did was come on the show to talk about his book, but it's about how can we help people? How can we be of service to people? And so the audience who tunes in, they receive tips, strategies, guidelines, guidance, resources, information on how to grow their business. Because as a business consultant, one of the things that I say is I not only help people to make money, I help people to save money. And sometimes saving money can be so much more important because when you're starting out, you don't know. You don't know what website hosting is. You don't even know why it exists. So how can you know what it costs? So somebody could tell you, oh, you got to pay $20,000 or it's $5,000 a month. And I'm like, go over to GoDaddy, $5 a month, and you can be in business today within 15 minutes. So people don't know, and I always tell them, do not face the unknown alone. Ask Sharif.
Love it, love it, love it. So your podcast show, that's the one to Ask Sharifah?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Diane, but I get to talking.
Love it.
It's Ask Sharifah videocast and podcast. And so that's the one-on-one interview. Sometimes on the roundtable talk show, people do not have enough time to sit down and tell their entire story. And so on Ask Sharifah videocast, I allow them the opportunity to share their story, to have, more time to explain. And then what we do is we extract the audio from the live video and then we upload it as a podcast, which basically gives them 2 interviews in one. So it's just a wonderful experience to sit down and to learn about someone's story.
Right. Now, is that one people pay for that one?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good. So yeah, because people I think are always curious how people like you and I who are online and doing videos and such, how we make money. And that's part of what you do is teach people how to make money.
Yes.
With what they have, where they are, particularly at this time.
Yes. And there are so many people who say, you know what, I don't pay for interviews. And I understand that paying for interviews is not for everyone. There are some people who have so many interviews that they don't need to pay for them. But I look at it like this. We want to promote this interview. We want to promote your interview. We have to pay for the advertising and the marketing costs that we incur to have people come out and learn about your story. We're offering you a platform that we're promoting to get your story out there. And so without what I call the production fee. So it's not just about the interview, it's the cost of production to produce that show and to advertise and market that show. That's why that show incurs a fee. Now the roundtable talk show, there is no fee to be on that show, but you have 6 people who are advertising and marketing the show for you. So every guest, and it's not an obligation. It's not something that they have to do. Most guests don't even share the show until after the show. It's a live show, but once they finish, they're like, you know what? Wow, this is not what I expected. I didn't know it was going to be like this, because I always tell them in the pre-show, I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to ask. No, I don't have pre-scripted questions because I'm naturally inquisitive. I have that natural curiosity that wants to learn more, so I often go off script. So they finish the show, they're happy, they're like, wow, let me share this with my network. And so without me paying or advertising, because we're all supporting each other, that show just received thousands of views.
Right, right. And your other show, the one I was on,
Yes.
the face-to-face, that is a show where you really tackle questions that people just don't want to talk about, or topics, I should say, that people don't want to talk about. refuse to discuss, and refuse to bring out to the light.
Mhm.
But you do not hesitate 1 minute, nor do your guest. I mean, quite honestly, I thought I was going to be on the other show, the roundtable show, but I went into it and I really got a lot out of it, and I hope that your viewers got a lot out of it. But tell me where that has taken you and your guest.
Yes, I mean, this show is so special to me. I think this show is going to be a part of changing the world. I honestly say that. And it's not because it's my show, my baby. I just love this platform. And, sometimes you do one thing and it just turns into something completely different. So Face to Face Talk Show came from the Roundtable Talk Show. When I launched the roundtable, we were in the middle of COVID and COVID-19, a global pandemic, and we still are in the middle of it, but it affected everyone the same. Everyone wanted to talk about it. No matter what their business was, they wanted to talk about how it has affected their business, how it affected them personally, how it was to work virtually. What were the changes? Have they always worked virtually? But then when the civil unrest happened as a direct result of the tragedy of George Floyd being murdered, people who came on the roundtable talk show wanted to talk about it. And I'm like, okay, yes, we have to have this conversation. Black Lives Matter. I want to have this conversation, but I also have a lot of respect for my guests. We talked about fees for the show. Roundtable Talk Show, I do not pay them to be a guest on the show. They do not pay me to be a guest on the show. Everybody is there to be of service. And the last thing I want to do is to have someone who came to be of service to be offended or to feel uncomfortable. Because if I have a book and my book is about ice cream, that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to discuss, murder. And I was always taught that you do not discuss religion and politics in mixed company, because you're obviously going to offend someone, and then you're going to get unfriended, and there's this whole mess that they're going to blame on Sharifah. So I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And then I met Paul Faust. Paul was a guest on the Roundtable Talk Show. He had a fabulous time, did a testimonial. It was wonderful. He's like, I got to do this again. We had a last minute cancellation. Paul came back the next day. We had a wonderful time on the Roundtable Talk Show. He was like, Sharifah, we have to do something. So we decided to co-host Face to Face Talk Show, where people sit down, 5 guests, plus Paul and I, and have face-to-face discussions just simply on what is going on in the world. What do you see as important? What do I see as important? Because your experience is not my experience. And that's not just because you're white and I'm black, because that's what we try to simplify it too. Because we talked about face-to-face talk on the show when you were there, about how you just realized you had cousins that were black and that your ancestors were black. So it's like we're more alike, but if we can't talk about it, if I have to be afraid and, I'm going to offend Diane because I said black, then how do we grow? How do we get anywhere? Like, can we talk?
Right, exactly. You are right. Shows like the one that you have, the face-to-face, it can change the world. It can make a difference in a good way, in a positive way. Because when I was on, we could see the difference in opinions, but they weren't like, okay, yours doesn't count and mine does. It was none of that. It was just simply, like you said, we all come from a different place and we can learn things from one another. And I think that's great. Everybody should do their DNA, because they're going to find out that they all originated out of the continent of Africa. I'm not an expert, but I would place a bet on that. So tell me, where are you going to go from here with what you have? What is your ultimate dream for driving these experiences you're having and the entrepreneurship and the messages that you want to bring to the world encompassed in business?
I'm going to grow all of the shows. That's my primary focus right now, is reaching a wider audience, especially with face-to-face, because I believe change starts with the conversation. That's what's driving me right now, is to change some of the ills in society, including unemployment, including creating jobs, including the homeless ratio. So I'm just still I'm campaigning for council without even being in an election. I just want to make this world a better place. And to me, I believe that starts with small businesses. That starts with entrepreneurs. because businesses, especially small businesses, are the heart of America. And we tend to forget that. And what happens to the body when the heart stops? The body dies, the entire nation dies. So we have to pump new blood, new energy, and create new entrepreneurs. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote my book, Signs You Might Be an Entrepreneur, How to Discover the Entrepreneur in You, is because I was speaking to so many people and they had absolutely no idea what an entrepreneur is or how to start off as an entrepreneur. They would say, oh yeah, I know I'm an entrepreneur because I don't like to work. Oh, I know I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur because I hate my boss. And I'm like, no, that's not it. Because entrepreneurs are the hardest working people ever. They can't just sit at their desk and watch the clock and play all day and move around paper clips and, make sure the boss isn't working. Oh, it's 5 o'clock, time to go. No, we're working for ourselves. We're building something for other people. And so I want to walk people through the process of how to discover the entrepreneur in you. What are some of the things that you can do to grow and expand as an entrepreneur? And that's my focus, really, because my friends all laugh at me, Diane. They say, Sharifah, you order everything. Like, because I'm a Postmates, Uber Eats, even my laundry has a delivery service. And people always say, Sharifah, why do you waste your money? And I say, it's not about wasting money. It's about supporting the business, and especially this time right now, we need to all order from our local businesses. If you, go to that local dry cleaners, whatever it is, support the restaurants, support the businesses, because that's how we all grow. And if we don't have money to spend and money to shop, that affects the economy. And we have to understand that it's not, again, just about that person in the White House, whoever it is about the individual choices we make on a daily basis to make this world a better place. So from here, I'm just going to grow the shows, expand my reach, and eventually wind up in television, and in a television studio, reaching a wider audience. But that's my main focus, is just reaching more people with the same message.
Wow. And your shows are already global, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So you're well on your way with that. And you mentioned your book. You also have an ebook. So tell our viewers where they can find both of these books.
On my website at AskSharifah.com, my ebook is everything you need to know about social media marketing. So if you're one of those people who come to me, which most people do, and say, Sharifah, I don't know how to monetize social media, I recommend reading this book, because it teaches you a lot of different ways to post and maximize your social media. But I think more than anything else, definitely get the ebook, but take a look at your business. Like if we were sitting here having a one-on-one consultation, and you said to me, Diane, I don't know about social media, I would just simply tell you, what is the most interesting thing about your business? Find that spark that interests you and elaborate it on it day after day. Share things that you find interesting and you find that people gravitate to you. And all that information is available at AskSharifah.com.
Great, great. So in closing the program, is there some recommendations that you would like to make to anyone considering becoming an entrepreneur? Because of our current situation, there are a lot of doors open now, because unfortunately so many businesses have failed. So what advice would you give someone who wants to start up a business?
I'll give you 3 tips, and these are my number one strategies. Number one, do what you love and the money will follow. I always tell people that I was that little kid who talked my mom to death. I was like, why, mom? And why, mom? And why? And my mom was like, if you just don't stop. But I talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. Now I'm a talk show host. So what is it that you love to do? Because you have to remember that being an entrepreneur, being self-employed is still a job. It's still something you have to do for a minimum of 40 hours a week. So what is that one thing that you would be willing to do day in and day out, and then do that thing? Number 2, on the internet, you can find just about anything for either free or low cost. Every time I look for something, I'm like, this is what I want. I always Google it to find out if I can get a better offer, a better rate. Most things to start a business, you can get relatively cheap through GoDaddy. You can get your own WordPress website if you're a DIY kind of person. If not, I build websites, I build social media platforms. I can help you in this process, but definitely go ahead and start your business. Number 3, I would say, is the website design and social media aspect of it. don't think, please do not believe the hype. It is not enough to have an Instagram. Having an Instagram does not mean that you are in business. Have a website, be professional, because when you really level up and you start going for loans and business grants and putting in applications, and even on my website to be a guest on one of my shows, it asks you, what is your website address? Because I have to be able to go to your website, understand that you're a professional, that you're in business, and I have to be able to review who you are. I'm not going to go to your Instagram and see what pictures you post. So take your business serious, and your business will take you serious.
Wow. I think that's great advice, Sharifah, at no charge to boot. I really appreciate you being on the show today, and I think you've brought our viewers some great advice.
Thank you for having me. It was a blast. I hope to see you again. I hope to see you again on one of my shows.
Oh, I hope so too. That would be great. Thanks, Sharifah.
You're welcome.
And thank you for watching Business Notes. We've been speaking with Sharifah Hardie, business consultant, talk show host, author, and influencer. I'm Diane Bogino, bringing you business ideas you can bank on.